Hey, it's David Thomas with Orchard Hills Church, shooting your morning devotion. We are finishing up our 5-part series of what is the will of God for your life. All right. I'm sorry about the lighting in here. It's a little dark outside still. So the lights I know I look really ghostly. So you'll have to forgive me for the change in appearance here. But today we are going to go over, I really wanted to get this message out. We're going to go over the 5th point. What is the will of God for your life? So we're going to wrap them up. If you're just tuning in and you have not watched video 1 through 4, they're all labeled. You can scroll back in our recordings. You'll find them. What is the will of God for your life? Part 1 through 4. And we've been doing over the past, let's say about the past 4 weeks or so. And today we're going to wrap it up. We're going to put a nice bow on it. And, finding out the will of God for our lives is a struggle that a lot of Christians go through, because they're just like, man, God, if you would just tell me, I'll do it. I just don't know what to do. And so what we've done is we've dove into the scriptures, and we're reading through what the scriptures say is the will of God for your life. So let's recap real quick. Number 1, that you be saved. To truly be in the will of God, you need to be saved. That is God's will for your life. Number 2, that you live a spirit-filled life. Number 3, that you be sanctified. Number 4, that you be submissive. And number 5 is that you suffer. You're like, man, I qualify. Finally, I got one, right? I suffer it all day long. Let's dive into the verse. 1 Peter 4:19. I'm going to read it for you right now. So then, those who suffer according to God's will, so it's God's will. So then, those who suffer according to God's will should commit themselves to their faithful Creator and continue to do good. So you're asking, okay, some Christians say, yep, I'm just born to suffer. I'm bearing my cross. My cross to bear is my boss, or my cross is, my wife. My cross is my husband. My cross is, if you're in the church, my cross is the deacons. My cross is the pastor. There's all, we all have our own crosses, we feel like, that we have to deal with on a regular basis. He has something so much larger in mind here. He doesn't mean that kind of suffering. Now, that kind of suffering is something that, it has a place. But, if you're going around complaining that, my cross to bear is my wife, well, maybe you need to take a look at the kind of husband that you are, and vice versa, right? There's so much bigger here in this verse that I want to cover. So to give it a more of a context, let's dive back. Let's go to 1 Peter 3:17. Let's go back a chapter. All right. And he says here, for it is better if it is God's will to suffer for doing good rather than doing evil. And this is truly what he's getting at, right? What does that mean? What does it mean? For it is better if it is God's will to suffer for doing good than for doing evil. What that means is, if you're living a godly life in a godless society, which we know we are, you're going to get some flack, right? You're going to suffer. You're going to be made fun of. You're going to get, passed over for jobs. You're going to get, ridiculed. You're going to get, made to feel stupid. You're going to be made to feel backward. You're going to be made to feel all types of different things if you're standing up for the message of Christ. If you're living a godly life. That's what the godless society, they don't like that. They don't like you doing anything that's different. And that's different than what we're going through today. I can guarantee you that. If you can't see that, then you can't see the writing on the wall. So God's will is that you are willing to take a stand for his name, for his message. Does Christ suffer? Absolutely. Right? Did Paul suffer for Christ's name? Absolutely. Did the disciples? Absolutely. The great evangelists throughout the centuries, did they suffer? Absolutely. So nowadays we don't really truly know what suffering is. We really, especially here in the US, we truly don't have to fight for our faith, but times are getting worse. We know this. Where if you stand up in school, high school, doesn't matter, high school, if you're not living a promiscuous life or doing, drugs or alcohol or, taking the Lord's name in vain or, all of the above, you're looked at as an oddball. You're looked at as the weirdo, right? You have to suffer by yourself, knowing that, those people are looking at you like you're weird. Why? Because you're reflecting back at them what they truly are. You're suffering because they don't like that you're different. They're suffering that you're actually standing up for a principle that you believe in, a godly way of living. So if you are going to stand up for Christ and his message, you are going to suffer in one shape, form, or fashion. So God's will is that you're willing to suffer for him, that you do suffer, and that you're willing to take a stand for his message, that you don't cower back, you don't make compromises, you don't agree with a sinful lifestyle, a sinful way of living, a way of discussion, a way of doing your job. You do the Christian thing, you do the godly thing every single time. And yeah, you'll catch some flack for it, but it's God's will because you are standing up for what's right. So to recap, we've covered all 5. So you're saying to me now, well, that's great. So now you've given me all this biblical talk, all this scripture talk, but I still don't know what job I'm supposed to take. I still don't know who I'm supposed to marry. And now I just feel like I need to go suffer, right? No, you're going to like this. So listen up when I say this. You're really going to love this one. So if you are saved, sanctified, living a spirit-filled life, living a submissive life, and you're standing up for what's right, you're suffering for Christ, you do whatever you want. I knew you'd like that one, right? You do what you want. Why? Because if you're living those things, who do you think, whose desires do you really think are in your heart? Are they your desires, your worldly desires? No. Be God's desires. So the psalmist says, delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desire of your heart. It doesn't say he'll fulfill the desire of your heart. He said he'll give it to you. He'll put it there. It's his desire in your heart if you are living those 5 things. So if you're not sure who you need to marry, if you're living your life and truly truly take inventory of yourself, if you're living life like that and you're truly striving for those principles, marry who you want. Because guess what? The person that you want to marry, they're going to align with those principles too. If you're not sure what job you need to take, well, it's going to align with those principles too, because that's going to be God's desire in there, and he knows what's best. So take some real comfort in the fact that knowing that you don't have to have it all figured out. All you have to do is live your life according to those 5 principles, live your life according to that. And what you want to do, the things in life that make you happy, that give you delight, that you just gravitate towards naturally, it's going to be God's will for your life. So I hope you get value from this. I hope it helps you kind of take a step back and take the pressure off of yourself that you've got to figure it all out. And, God's keeping his will for you a secret. That's not the case. If you're living according to those 5 principles, you'll be living in God's will, and you'll be doing what God has put in your heart. So once again, David Thomas, Orchard Hills Church. Hope you got value from this. If you did, please like, comment, share this with others. And of course, we'll be back soon with more great devotionals for you to help inspire you and educate you and just encourage you along your Christian path or along your Christian journey. Now, this is Thanksgiving week, so I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you real soon. Take care. Bye.